Hey everybody, thank you for having me. I'm Kai, I'm a software engineer, and I'll keep introductions brief because this is a lightning talk and I have to do 10 minutes for my presentation. Oh, let's see. Asking me to share permissions. Here you go. Okay, that looks like it's it. All right. So what am I going to talk about today? Today, I know most of you, as I'm guilty of myself, we've used console.log for pretty much everything while debugging and working on applications, which is fine. I think it has its place, and we're probably never going to stop using it. But I'm going to show you a couple of tips and tricks to get the most out of your developer tools. Particularly, I'm going to be using VS Code and the built-in debugger. What do we have here? We have a Vue app, which is a little e-commerce application. You can see that we have a couple of products. We have some links up here. We have a cart, and it's pretty basic. You can just add stuff to the cart, and it's not much other than that. Let me take you a little bit through the structure of the application. Again, it's a simple Vue.js, something if you're familiar with Vue, you're familiar with this structure for components, models, views. I am using Pinia for store management, and I do have a fake API layer, which essentially just returns static stuff. What else can I show you here for the product to give you context? Probably the main component, which is the app component. This is the template. Again, is what you see here. And what are we going to do today? So you all are going to help me live, and like Mateo said before, hopefully the demo gods are on my side. You're going to help me solve a bug, and you're going to help me fix a broken test. So I know probably most of you start adding console logs here in the JavaScript everywhere. Again, that's fine, but let me show you another trick. Let me start by showing you this little tab right here in Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code actually has great built-in support for anything JavaScript debugging. So I already have something set up here, but maybe if you've never done this, you will get like a big prompt here to say, hey, you don't have a configuration, set it up. And it's actually super simple. You can just use the default. It comes in, again, built into VS Code. The only different thing you might want to take a look at is your port, wherever you're running your application. Once that is set up, you can hit the play head here, and it'll open up your Chrome browser with the instance of your application. So before we dive into the bug, I do want to show you, for example, where the data is coming from and how that it's getting fetched. So you might have noticed that there's a couple products at the beginning. Is like, okay, where is that coming from? How can I find out? So let's do that. If I set a breakpoint here in my API layer, I know I show you, okay, here's the API. I know this is the API, but where's actually the call for the API coming from? If I refresh here, now I stopped here at my breakpoint. This is super cool because I probably would have had a console log here to log out all the products, and every time I want to inspect that, refresh the page so I can get all my logs in the browser. But right now, what's happening is I stopped the execution of the code. This is frozen in time, and this gives me a ton of powerful tools. You can see all the variables. You can see your local variables. You can see the global variables. You can see the module specific variables, which is super cool. You can add watchers, and you have a debug console here. This debug console is where I spend like 80% of the time when I'm in this kind of session, because it's interactive. You can actually access stuff through here, and I'll show you a clearer example later. But you have another set of buttons here that would also help you navigate through the code. So if I want to step out through this, I will do this, or I can step into the function, I can step out of it. Another super amazing thing that I use all the time is the call stack. So again, as a developer working in this kind of applications, I know that there's an API layer and something has to trigger this, but I'm maybe not too sure where to look for that. If I set up a breakpoint here, I can navigate the call stack So for example, if I go up the stack, oh, wow, okay, I see that this application is using a store, and the store is actually setting a computer property, and that's where this call is getting called from. And if I keep going up, you can actually see some of the Vue internals, but I will eventually get to the app component where it's referenced in the store. So it all starts here. Okay, now I have a clear picture. This app component goes to the store, and the store dispatches the API call. And I didn't have to write a single console log anywhere in my application. I'm gonna let that play through, and now I'm gonna go back here and I'm gonna show you the bug that you're gonna help me figure out. So again, going back to here, there's a card, there's nothing here. If I add this to the card, it's like amazing. I have my product now, but hold on a second. I only clicked that once. Why is it twice? If I was the owner of this, I would love it for everybody to buy two of my products every time they want it, but that's probably not the best user experience. And if I delete this, um, yeah, I can go ahead and get prompted. I want to delete it. Let's disregard that breakthrough for now. But sure, customers can delete it and still get that. Amazing, but that's not the best experience. So let's just fix that. Let's see what's happening here. If we go to our project structure and we see the components, I would guess maybe there's like a product card, and the product is probably having this button where, yeah, I can see that this is where it's getting called, right? And then if I go back to the app, I did notice that there was another function to add the product. So I wonder if I put a breakpoint here, can I figure out what's going on? Okay. So I triggered that from the product card, but I was able to stop it here in the app component itself. Why is that? Handy dandy call stack. I can go through the call stack and see what's going on. And if I eventually hit here, I say, okay, there's in between those two, there's a product list component that is emitting is an event with add product card. And take a note at this. It's also taking using the store and pushing a product to it, as well as the other component that we were looking at, which is the product card. I believe so. No, actually the application, my bad. So I see what the problem is. The app component itself is pushing a product to the store as well as the product list. So if I was going to change this, maybe I can delete this from here. I can save everything. I'm gonna let this play through. Let me refresh this. Add this to the card again. Okay, we hit our breakpoint. Boom, there you go. And I did not have to do a single console.log or console.error to figure out that, okay, events are getting emitted, and in between those three components, there's two calls to the store to add a product. Now that we only have one of those calls actually interacting with the store, now we're able to add the products, and I should be able to only have one of every single one of those. Yes, there you go. Amazing. Okay. Now, what else is this debugger useful for? You can actually use it for test, which is amazing. In my mind, testing is very important. And I'm going to stop actually this debugger, and I'm going to show you that we have a folder with test. And I have a single spec for my application, which is the app component itself. And this is just Vue stuff to set up the and mount the component. If I notice here, there's a little like, and this is because I was playing with it before, but it's normally a playhead. If you right click on this, you get some options and you can debug your test. Once I do that, I set a breakpoint here and I'm able to, again, play through the code and step through and see what's going on. And it'll respect my breakpoints through the application as well. I'm going to remove that because I actually do not want that. Let's go back to the test. Okay, let me rerun this again. And if I step through, okay, I see that the component is getting mounted. Now, I'm getting an error though. It's failing. Why is it failing? Okay, let's try that one more time. And I'm going to show you the power of the debugging console. Okay, in my debugging console, I can actually execute code just as the regular application would. So if I copy paste this into here, I would expect the result to be stored in title, but for some reason that's failing. Let's see what's going on. If I hit enter, that gets executed and I get a nasty error. But if I go all the way up here, I should be able to see where this starts. And yeah, here it is. This is where I executed the code. We're getting an uncaught error and it's unable to get this ID. So it's not able to find it in the HTML. And if I scroll down, okay, I see what the problem is. The ID is title, but I have two T's here. So if I remove that and I save this, let me let this play through and rerun it. Okay, now we're getting past this. So now we do have this code executed and it's not throwing an error, but I have another error now, which is the strings don't match. Let me set another breakpoint here, remove this one, debug my test, and show you another powerful thing about the debugging console. We have access to all of this stuff. You can hover over it, you can inspect it, you can add it to your watch, and you can also play with it here. But what I really like to do is I like to interact with it here. If I go to title and I get all my amazing intelligence from VS Code, I see the functions and everything that I can use to interact with it. And I don't have to console log any of this because console logging would require me to rerun my test all the time and all the time and all the time. So if I go to here, I can see that there's an HTML function. And if I call it, my wrapper has this HTML and I can see the string here, best dev store ever, but I'm actually asserting that it contains best developer store ever. Okay, that's a problem. I could have also used HTML title that text, and I will get just the string representation of the component, the string in the component itself. Okay, awesome. So if I change this to best dev store ever, let me play that through, save it, and rerun it. I should now get a passing test. There you go. And you can see all my failed attempts before. Amazing. That's pretty much it. Let me tell you that if you need to, because again, console is not going anywhere. I understand that. This is another tool for the job. But if you must use console, I do have some last minute tips for you. We all know the console log. We love it. In this example, I'm actually fetching the app component with ID, and this is just regular JavaScript, and then I'm logging it out. This is what the browser will show you, which is the HTML structure. If that's what you want, great. But if you're heavily into the JavaScript world, you probably want to see more of the object representation. For that, you can use console.dir. And the same input will give you more of like the object representation, properties, even hidden properties if you pass in an option for it. Another thing that you can also do is console.table. So in this example, I have a person object with my name, my age. Yeah, I'm starting to get back pain. And then if you execute a console.table and you pass in this person object, it'll give you a tabular representation of it. And like this, the console object in JavaScript has a lot of different functions that you can use to help you debug stuff better than just using a console.log. Thank you very much for coming to my lightning talk. Once again, I'm Cai Cruz. I'm a software engineer, and you can find me on GitHub, on YouTube, and on TikTok. These are my handles. I look forward to connecting with all of you.